We are to...
Senator Ludlam.
Professor, thanks for coming on the line. The witness who preceded you directly, Mr McLennan from Channel 10, spoke of the risk that they see inherent. You've said you would, if the rule were lifted, you would want to see a buttress of a public interest test introduced to make sure that there wasn't a wave of mergers and acquisitions. Channel 10 have pointed out that their reading of the bill, which I concur with, is that you'd have a 5 or 6 month lag, during which time the public interest media advocate wouldn't be able to block anything, but they could retrospectively force divestiture, presumably. Is your quick reading of the bill support that view?
That would appear to be right on a first reading, yes.
All right, have you got any concerns about how difficult it's going to be? This is a part-time officer proposed to spend maybe the first few months of their job pulling apart deals that have already been done. How likely do you think that is, or how, do you think that's a very good idea?
It's impractical.
Okay.
I think it's totally impractical. So those two measures would have to be introduced together if they were to be introduced, because even though it might be considered in the public interest to block a merger, that merger having taken place and all the subsequent consequences of that having taken place, that very same merger, it may not be in the public interest to actually unpick it.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder how you unscramble these things once they've been done, to be honest. Can we talk about the competition issues that you addressed briefly before, with the regional TV stations being in competition from the internet in ways which they weren't before? But it's true, isn't it, that they're certainly not going to be really in competition for local news. If I'm sitting in Kalgoorlie, I could read the New York Times if I want, but they're not going to be reporting on what's going on in Kalgoorlie. So is it not the case that the regional organisations will still have that benefit of incumbency, whether this rule's lifted or not?
Yes, I think people will tend to go to those mainstream sources.
And does that protect us to a degree? Because the fact is this rule is being eroded effectively before our eyes by technology that has cross-party support.
What has cross-party support, Senator?
The idea, I mean, there's strong arguments about how to deliver it, but the idea that we should have rapid broadband that would allow you to watch or consume content in the manner of your pleasing at the time that you choose is eroding concepts like the reach rule.
Yes, it is, and I think it's hard to imagine how new services will be rolled out and the new ways that consumers will use them.
Okay. Do you have a view then of the kind of undertakings that you'd be required, that we should be placing on regional broadcasters if the rule is lifted? What should the quid pro quo be apart from a public interest test in order to, can we compel these organisations to keep newsrooms open?
Well, I think you can introduce requirements that they broadcast a certain amount of local and regional material, news and current affairs, and in addition requirements for Australian drama and documentaries. They're all within your power to require that kind of content. And since that's actually what's trying to be achieved, that Australian audiences have access to original Australian content, and local and regional audiences should have access to regional news and current affairs, then the best way to achieve that, if that's what you want, is to directly require those quotas.
All right, thanks, Professor.